the top 10 questions, and I've condensed this and given it to you in one-word answers. Number 1, is it hot in there? Yes. Number 2, so is this your real job? Or what's your real job? This. Number 3, can I have some tickets? No. Number 4, are you a furry? Depends upon who's asking. Number 5, how much money do you make? Lots. Is it hard not to talk? No. Do you sweat a lot? Yes. How do you see? Eyes. How do you pee? Penis. Are you a girl or a boy in there? Penis. If you take away one thing from today's talk, I hope that you're going to laugh a lot with some of the stories that I'm going to tell you, but if you take away one thing, I would like you to take away that vocational limitations and that your professional limits are really just self-imposed illusions. Whatever craft that you're in, whatever field of study that you have chosen, don't let anybody tell you that there's a limitation to where you can take it. And that, these type of people that do this for a living only make that. When I started at the Rockets, within the first month, this is back in 1995, I actually came down here just shy of finishing my degree at the University of Delaware, finished my last 21 credits, 7 classes right here, go Cougs, at the U of H. So I'm very familiar with this campus 2 decades ago. And my first month on the job, I was extremely unhappy and discontent. I moved down from the University of Delaware to a state where I knew nobody. I had no friends, I had no family, and I came down here for $20,000 a year. Now, even back then, that was not a lot of money. Average marketing majors coming out of Delaware were making 30 to 35. I had a double major and a philosophy minor. And I'm coming down here, going to the big leagues, the NBA, and I'm thinking I'm going to, be paid well and make money, and I got paid $20,000. And in that first month, I had a boss that told me, and I'll never forget this. He said, if you want to make more than $40,000 a year, then you shouldn't be at this company. Because this company will never pay more than $40,000 a year for any mascot. I had a decision at that point. First thing I decided was to completely disregard what he said, not argue with him, but just make up in my mind that's simply not true. Next thing I had to decide was I had to create my own philosophy. If I have a boss telling me that, I had to be extremely self-resilient, and I had to be extremely efficient. I was not going to be given a script or told what to do or how to do it or how to go about making things happen. So I decided I'm not going to think of myself as a mascot. I'm not a mascot. I am an improv, interactive, physical comedian. I want to elevate what I'm doing in my own mind. I'm also a comedy sketch writer and a comedy actor, where I am doing 2-minute Saturday Night Live caliber sketches in front of 18,500 people. And if you want to know how it feels to 18,500 people, mid-court to back of stage feels like 5,000 miles when you bomb in front of that many people live, and you're the one that wrote it, directed it, rehearsed it, produced it, and then executed it. The other thing I needed to do was I didn't ever think of Rockets games as games. I thought of them as the show. We are in our seats when we go to a basketball game for almost 3 hours. The ball's in play for 48 minutes. It was my job to bridge the gap between 48 minutes and 3 hours for the show and to create a show with real value. The other thing I needed to do was throughout the last 22 years of my life is I had to have, some people will call this stubbornness. And I've been called that more than a few times by that lady right there, my wife. I like to think of it as persistence, perseverance, fortitude, commitment, dedication. I had to frame up what I was going to do on a daily basis so that I could be successful with myself without a lot of extra support or help or guidance. I came up with an acronym. It was called SMILES. The S stood for stuffed animal. The M, marketing. I was a marketing and branding tool, a logo extension. I was a walking, living, breathing billboard for that team so that every time somebody saw me at one of the 6,000 appearances that I did over the last 21 years. They saw me, they thought of the Rockets, and hopefully we were building lifelong fans with the kids and reinforcing our experience, and it was a good interaction so that they were more likely to buy tickets. The I stands for inspiration, inspire. Okay, that's where I was a cheerleader. We all know that home court advantage exists. It was my job to create that, mostly in the fourth quarter, so that hopefully when the game was on the line and everybody's cheering and we get them all on the same page, we win more games in Houston than we do on the road. The L, laughter. That's why I got into the business in the first place. I love to make people laugh. Most of the job is just improv and interacting and drawing people into your show. This isn't Broadway where your audience is here, I'm lit here, and it's be quiet and watch. It's 360, it's lit. I'm trying to draw you into the show and get you to be part of it. E in smiles was educate. This is where we're trying to go out and share a message of the value of education with predominantly the elementary school kids around. They focused on what I always called delayed gratification, but used a more simpler term so that they'd focus on their education. And the last S in smiles was stunts. Not only the physical ones that you saw some of here in bowl, but quirky P.T. Barnum-like stunts intended to get the focus of the city, free advertising with news coverage, and get people out to our games. So that's kind of what got me from point A to point B in a 21-year career. And what I'm happy to tell you is you can apply those same type of principles in your own career. Because that boss that told me I was only going to make $40,000, well, he left a year or two later. And I'm happy to tell you, and my wife's really happy to tell you, that for the last 10 plus years, I averaged $250,000 a year wearing a teddy bear costume. Shooting silly string, throwing cakes in people's face. But really what we were doing were those things that I just talked about. Now, things weren't always rainbows and shiny, and we're building towards a vision. I'm going to need a little help here. Can you bring this forward for me? And we have a little visual display here just to show you, because we're not going to just talk about some of the things that worked in my career, and then I'm going to ask you to stand back, sir. We're not just going to talk about all the things that worked in my career. That wouldn't be fun. This is a t-shirt gun. I'm sure you've seen them. This is the smallest t-shirt gun that you can possibly get. It's called a Micro Mini. Well, back in 1997, we had a t-shirt gun that had 2 full tanks, about 5 times the size of this, 6 feet long. It was so powerful, we were only allowed to shoot it to the upper level. We had to introduce dancers to the lower level to throw shirts out because those are the people that are paying the most money and they're not getting any t-shirts. Meanwhile, I'm shooting to the upper level. One of the dancers is looking this way, running this way, runs right into the back of me, knocks me down to my knees, sets the gun off, and I'm 20 feet from the huddle, where Rudy Tomjanovich is instructing our players. And Katino Mobley, who was one of our starting forward at the time, gets that. Now just imagine, that was a gun this size. Katino got it 10 times, sorry Ted, 10 times that size, right in the chest. Put him out of the game. I don't know what happened. I just know the gun got shot off. I can only see like this. I pop up. Of course, I have the stupid painted-on grin on the bear that's always there. We got 30 seconds left. Who wants another T-shirt? I get in the back. I'm taking the head, and I'm dropping every curse word in the book. What the hell happened out there? You don't know, bro? My assistant, bro, you just shot Katino Mobley in the chest. He's out of the game. Not a second later, Katino comes hobbling around the side with the 2 trainers, muttering, effing bear. Watch where you shoot that thing, you effing bear. Guy didn't talk to me for 2 years until he got the story straight that I didn't mean to shoot him. So into a good story. We had a challenge. I got a call from a school early in my career. They asked me to come out and do a school appearance. And I'm like, and it was very much of that, appearances. I looked at the games as shows, but anything outside of the Toyota Center or the Compact Center or the Summit, which it was back then, was simply show up 5 minutes beforehand, make people laugh, hugs, high five, hijinks, and hilarity. The mascot 4 H's, and then get out of there. I show up at this school 5 minutes beforehand, and they're like, oh gosh, you're here, thank goodness. And I'm like, okay, which classes do you want to see first? Think I'm going to pollinate around the school, going class to class. No. They had all kindergarten through 5th graders, all 650 of them, out of class, in the gym, seated, very organized, quiet, and waiting to see my hour-long presentation, which I had none. I'm a mute character. I don't speak. I'm about 23-year-old at that point, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I think we fumbled through it, and I whispered like trivia questions for an hour into the principal's ear, and we gave out T-shirts to get the kids that got the Rockets trivia questions right. But there was a challenge there. The way we answered that challenge, and part of what built into the success of Clutch as a brand, was we said, okay, we need a school show. So we developed an hour-long, interactive, what we called edutainment school show. The schools not only wanted to entertain their kids with, but also left a redeeming message, motivating and inspiring them to do well and to do as best as they could at school now. So we called it edutainment. We've done 1,800 of them now in front of 1.25 million kids at over 600 of the local 800 elementary schools. So there was a brilliant moment in our career where at first it started out as a oh shit moment. And it was terrible, but we turned it into something. Another bad moment. I ruined a Martin Luther King Jr. Day parade. It was one of the low points of my career and life. I was in tears over this. This is about 4 years ago. We're doing the MLK Day parade that we did every year right down in Midtown. We wanted to do a really good job this year. And my assistant, who'd been with me 16 years full-time, packed up Mylar streamers that day. They're metallic. When they're shot out of a cannon, they look much cooler. They give off a firework effect. They look shimmery, as opposed to paper streamers that are more matted and flat and less cool. And we wanted to give them the best. So I'm sitting on the hood of the Clutch van, and he's handing me T-shirts to throw out and air horns and cannons. And when we get in front of the grandstand, because we're saving the good ones for in front of the grandstand, there's a DJ and an MC and all the other people up there, the dignitaries that are announcing the news. That's where they shoot. We pull it out, and I shoot one off, and a couple seconds later, boom! And at first, I'm going to tell you right now, I thought that we were having a terrorist attack. My first thought was, oh shoot, there's some neo-Nazi racists that are, and I hear the helicopter, all of a sudden I hear the helicopter over top, which was always there, but I just didn't realize it. It was a newscopter covering the parade, but I'm thinking like, oh my gosh. And then about 2 seconds later, it sets in on me, that can't be a coincidence. And I yell back, Dominic was his name, hey Dom, was that us? And he's like, I don't know, bro, I think so, I'm freaking out. Turns out, shot the cannon up in the air, they're metal. They blew into the power lines, hit the transformer, blew the transformer out, including 4 blocks of power, including the main stage. With the DJ, the band, everything goes silent. And there's Clutch with that painted on grin. Hey, T-shirt. Nobody stopped us. It was terrible. We apologized. We did get booked again the next year, oddly. He said, no Mylar streamers. Another great thing that started out as a challenge is one year we had to figure out a sponsorship package for a sponsor, and we had to do it really quick and deliver some real high value. The team came to me. We were already doing all these school shows. We were in front of kids. One thing we didn't have was something really cool to leave behind for the students after they just had this meaningful entertainment, interaction, and inspirational interaction. And a lot of these kids at these schools have never seen live entertainment in their entire life. So I said, okay, let me think about it for the weekend. We came up with the concept of doing storybooks and co-branding the storybooks. So not only that there would be a redeemable lesson for the student that taught them about the value of their education one year, another year it was cultural diversity, another year it was not being afraid to go to the doctor, healthy hygiene, hand washing, so different morals, but it was branded to the sponsor, creating a lot more value than just simply stamping a logo on a bobblehead and giving it out. Here, the story was actually about the sponsor. Turns out, now, as of the time that I left the Rockets, we had done 540,000 free books distributed across the city, so over 500,000 books, 7 different versions, 7 different stories with 3 different sponsors that we got out, and they're in libraries at elementary schools across the city. And it's also, we created a piece of inventory, an asset that the Rockets actually use to sell to their sponsorships, and it's that is a very valuable 6-figure piece of inventory. So, I got 2 more stories for you before I leave you. My father was diagnosed with IPF in 2011. It's a degenerative disease that is terminal, and there's no known cure for it. It's a scarring of the lungs. It's non-lifestyle related. He ended up being saved by a double lung transplant from a man named Ian Heidemann, a 22-year-old young man out of Dallas, Fort Worth. Ian signed up to be an organ donor when he was only 19 years old, and he self-designated himself. My dad's still with us today. He takes care of my 2 sets of twins and my 17-year-old whenever we need him to. My mom and dad are still together. While I was visiting my dad in the hospital, I stopped by Life's table, and I said, what is this all about? Your organ donation or transplantation or something, and I want to help. You know, this is what I do for a living. I can speak for you. I can fundraise for you. I'll do whatever. I'll give you money. And they said, well, are you an organ donor? And I said, oh, yes, absolutely. I remembered when I was 16 signing up to be a donor. And they said, can we see your license? I pulled out my license, and they were like, well, and in fact, it wasn't an organ donor. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, when I moved to Texas or when I renewed driver's license or something, I wasn't. And they said, no problem. The biggest problem and issue here is awareness. It's not that there's a ton of people making a conscious decision not to be. It's an issue. So I got involved with LifeGift, and that's where you saw one of the things that Clutch did to try to drive the awareness issue in the registry. I got involved when there was 2.9 million people on the registry. There's 26 million people in Texas. I'm happy to report today, after serving on their board and some of the Clutch promotions and a lot of work from a lot of other people, half of Texans on the registry now that are eligible. So millions upon millions of people have made that decision to say yes to saving lives. Running the Houston Half Marathon always made me question my sanity right around mile 10 when I'm in this big, sweaty bear costume. Retirement's been good to me, you can see. I was a lot trimmer and in better shape back then. The last screw-up story, and then I'm going to leave you to an amazing array of other speakers. My first year on the job, we had just won back-to-back championships. Every now and then, we got big-time A-list Hollywood celebrities. We get Jack Nicholson when we're playing the Lakers. I don't usually get told about this until an hour or 2 before the game, because quite frankly, that's when we find out they're last-minute things. I'm like, oh, I need to do a Jack Nicholson skit. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And there's a clip of it in that video. Well, what you don't see on the video is I come out wearing sunglasses, and they're playing Corey Hart sunglasses at night, and I'm walking by, and I see Jack Nicholson sitting there next to our owner, and I flip out, and I do the women's world, I'm not worthy thing, bowing down to him, and then I jump up, and because Clutch is a 92-inch waisted bear, I shake my rear in his face, and then I sit on his lap. Now, when I sit on someone's lap, I don't actually, I'm going to show you right here, I don't actually sit on their lap. I kind of just squat so that I'm not hurting them over them, and I act like it, and the big 92-inch waist bear looks like he's sitting on his lap. So, huge eruption of applause happens when I'm doing that. And I'm like, huh? Big laughter. I was like, this is funny, but it's not that funny. Huh. Oh, well, I jump up. I get down and I act like I'm kissing his feet, like I'm playing up to the big celebrity, the big VIP, and I go into the back. I'm like, hey, guys, with my assistants, when I take the head off, why did everyone laugh out there? And they all start snickering. They're like, you don't know? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? Well, apparently, while I was sitting on Jack's lap, and the camera's right there, he thought it would be funny to wrap his left arm around me, look at our owner, wink, grin, and then go, So, it looks like Jack Nicholson gave it to me from behind, and then I jumped up, down and kissed his feet and thanked him for it. That's what I've got for you guys today. No self-respecting mascot would go out any other way, so I'm going to go out with a bang. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day, folks.